I mean, no homo, but like this guy doesn't look like a dude that a girl might want to take a ride on if she's in the right mood.
No, I don't like the way you're leading me down this road. I know what you're doing. You know the answer to the question, but you just want me to say it or something.
So this is apparently the situation that Ian Garry is never going to hear the end of, because I searched for Ian Garry and Layla for a very specific reason that we are going to talk about in a second that had to do with last night. I'm not sure if a lot of people talked about it or not, but there was like a really big development in that story, and I caught it, but I didn't see anybody post about it. So we're going to talk about that shortly. But so when I searched for the two of them for the thumbnail, I find this story again. Ian Garry, nutritionist, and wife Layla Machado's ex-husband Richard Cohen's drama haunts UFC 310 star yet again. And I was like, this is just a story that's never going to go away, dude. It's just never going to go away. But I'm definitely going to talk about Ian Garry and his fight last night, because I have some very complimentary things to say about basically every single part of his performance last night, from the walkout to the fight itself to how he handled it afterwards. And I think this is one of those rare situations where a person technically, loses a fight and their stock goes up. And that's very rare, especially when a guy was undefeated going into the fight, Like Ian Garry's stock went up last night, and I've told you guys many times, I am literally certain that this guy is going to be a world champion. And after last night, I am even more certain. And after he loses to a guy who's in his division, I will explain exactly why I'm so confident after seeing last night. Also, Dana went ham in the press conference. He had some brutal comments for a couple people. He was talking about Anthony Smith, Clay Guida, and Weidman, and that was, man, that was he was pretty brutal. And then he started talking about PFL and what's going on there, and he was real brutal there. I think PFL is going to fold. There is a lot of evidence that supports that. Dana verified that last night. And what we're going to also talk about as it relates to that is Francis Ngannou, because Francis Ngannou signed a massive contract to go fight for PFL. And listen, dude, that's where, you win the battle. But as far as the war goes, like he got the money, but he's going to be homeless, right? He got one fight in PFL. He's going to be homeless. Now, we're going to get into all of that after this, and then I'm going to show you Dana White's brutal comments after the fights. And that's what we're going to do. But real quick, I never know what to get people for Christmas. I'm sure you guys are in the same boat. This is your answer. So during the holidays, in my experience, you find out that you have no idea what people want or need. However, if you want to get somebody something practical, earbuds are an amazing place to start. Now, everybody has a pair of earbuds. However, everyone also needs a backup pair of earbuds as well. Here's the thing though, after they see and use Raycons, highly likely these are going to become their go-to number one pair. Raycon's everyday earbuds have tens of thousands of 5-star reviews online, and their latest model is even better than ever. With a 32-hour battery life and multi-point connectivity that lets you pair with 2 devices at once. Raycon's everyday earbuds are also available in a variety of vibrant colors, which are a big hit to unwrap on Christmas morning. Now, when I use these, I'll tell you about the 3 features I like the most. 32-hour battery life is huge. The fact that you can connect to both an iPad and a phone, because I always have them both, and the fact that they cost what they cost. Take a look at that, because it's going to shock you. Gabrielle, you know how I said I was going to film a spot for an earphone company, Raycon, these guys? I just listened to my music full blast on these things. These cost 1/6 the price of my normal headphones, and they sound identical or better. So go to buyraycon.com/JesseOnFire to save big for the holidays and get up to 25% off site-wide. That's right, you'll get up to 25% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/JesseOnFire. Link is in the description. I dare you to try these and tell me they're not a good deal for how good they are. And also, best present ever. Get them for everybody. Now, before we even get into this video, I want to say congratulations to Bryce Mitchell, my dude. That is a good man right there. His post-fight speech, I rewound it. I showed it to Gabrielle, and she went like this. She was like...
So I'm telling you, it's monopolized from the FDA. I could fix it in 2 minutes if they would let me.
Now, I know he takes a bunch of flack over the flat earth stuff, but what he says right here, he knows what he's talking about. And I think I'm going to go live right now to actually show that. But also, I'm excited to tell everybody that Bryce and I are planning a multi-day hunting excursion at this like incredible Texas hunting ranch. And we're going to open that up to to the public. You know, we'll probably maybe do like 10 to 12 people. And it's going to be for a weekend. And we're going to have, we'll have details and pricing on that coming up soon. But I'm really excited to do it, dude. Aside from just business, like I'm excited to do it. So if you want to be like, you know, lifelong friends with me and Bryce, pretty strong way to start that relationship off is let's get into a house and a ranch for 2 days, because that usually tends to build strong relationships. So we'll keep you guys posted. All right, so let's talk about Ian Garry, because I think that was the most notable performance last night was Ian Garry's, in my opinion. But actually, you know what? As a quick side note, Volkov losing that decision was literally one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Like, the fight ended, I went out to our kitchen to grab a drink, and when I came back in, I was like, why are they interviewing Cyril Gane? Like, are they, it didn't even dawn on me that they could have given him the decision, because that was so black and white and obvious that Volkov won. And it's that Adelaide Bird woman again. It's insane, dude. That decision was atrocious. Atrocious. We can talk more about the other fights in another video. I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. But Ian Garry, okay, so why are we talking about Ian Garry's wife again? Okay, so I'll read you guys what's in this article in a second. But obviously, okay, Ian Garry takes constant flack about his wife, okay? Now, it was a sensational story when it first happened, for sure, okay? And she's 14 years older than him. Obviously, people are, it just doesn't seem, you know, like people are just going to look, they're like, look at this super young guy and this, you know, 40-year-old whatever. And they're like, oh, she's being a predator. She trapped him with a baby. And then they found the How to Be a Wag book. And it was just like a perfect storm of like, you know, meme stuff that turned into this narrative. And then, of course, this story comes out about like her ex-husband living with them. And it, you know, it just paints this picture where you're like, I don't know how else to interpret this. Okay. But here's the thing. I don't care really what their life is at all. All right. What I respect in a man or woman in terms of how they're going to behave with their spouse is I just want to see somebody have their back. That's the one person who you're not, you know, blood related to, where you should always have their back. Like, no matter what. Just like D. Like, D comes out and in the Conor McGregor case, she makes a public statement just absolutely nuking the victim, you know? And it's like, I respect that, because other people are, oh, your husband cheated on you. You're like, okay, but that was, first of all, that was 6 years ago, and she has his back unconditionally. You should respect her for that. You know what I mean? You could chastise Conor for his behavior, but D coming out and having his back, you should absolutely respect that. So last night, right, Ian Garry, I don't know if you guys caught this, but what song did Ian Garry come out to last night? Anybody catch that? Okay. It was an Eric Clapton song. Layla. Do, 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 do. I heard it. I was like, oh shit, I like this song. And I'm like, oh my God, he's coming out to Layla. He came out to Layla. And so I think that was hilarious and brilliant, because he's just like, you know, he's just like, to anybody who's going to talk shit about my wife, fuck you. You know what I mean? Here's my, here's my walkout song. Layla, you know, I don't know. It's just like, it's a pretty gangster move, man. It's, the guy is defiant and loyal. And, I still think it is super weird that they have the ex-husband living in the house, though. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to talk about that in a second after we talk about the fight. But in the fight itself, okay, you know, Ian Garry was a huge underdog. And I feel as though most people were reading that as if Shavkhat was going to ragdoll him, take him down, and just pulverize him, then maybe submit him or whatnot. I mean, like, you know, when you talk about the fight breakdown, the thing that's challenging when you have two guys that are undefeated is they've never been beat. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know how anybody could have, I've said this multiple times. I don't know how anyone could feel super confident in their pick when neither guy has ever lost. You know, they fought good guys. Maybe not the absolute best guys, but they fought good guys. And so if no one's ever been able to solve the Ian Garry puzzle, why do you think that like Shavkat's just going to walk through him when you don't really know what his weaknesses are, etc. Now, Shavkhat, you can objectively look at and kind of go, this guy doesn't have any weak points, man. You know, if you're going to beat him, you're going to find a very slim, opening that you can take advantage of. In my opinion, if they fight again, I think Ian Garry is going to let go of those kicks much earlier, and I think he actually will be able to compromise his leg, you know? Because like it seemed in the first round, first 2 rounds, it seemed like Ian was afraid of getting taken down, and so he was way less active with his kicks. And after the first 2 rounds, when he was able to defend the takedowns and defend the grappling, so he was confident enough that he's like, okay, even if he does, you know, get a good entry, double unders, whatever, I'm pretty confident I can either shake him off or get back up. So he let go of the kicks, and that's when the fight changed completely. You know, now that said, and by the way, I'm not saying Ian Garry won the fight, but I am saying it was certainly close enough that there was a possibility that the judges could have given him that decision. I think people would have complained about it, but not impossible at all. I mean, listen, dude, if they gave Cyril Gane the decision, Ian Garry had a way better case for winning that fight, in my opinion, there. But nonetheless, right, this is the main takeaway from that fight as it relates to Ian Garry, okay? That dude said 18 months ago, maybe, you know, between, I don't know, 18 to 24 months ago, I remember he came out after one of his fights and he said he did not want to fight for the title because he's going down to Brazil and he is going to make grappling his specialty exactly like striking. It's like, oh, well, you know, right now where I'm at with the striking, well, I'm focused all my energy to turn grappling into the same level of advantage for me in the octagon. And he went down to Brazil. He stated his opinion, or he stated his intention that he's going to make himself, you know, elite top of the food chain grappler. And guys, yeah, anybody who was watching that last night and had trouble interpreting what happened, like, this is very straightforward. Everybody's saying, oh, Shavkhat looks beatable. Really? That's your takeaway versus Ian Garry in a short period of time developed such strong grappling that he was able to, you know, basically deadlock with Shavkhat Rakhmonov and almost strangle him in the 5th round when, you know, I don't know. To me, obviously, the momentum in the last round has a huge impact on how you, you know, interpret the fight. If it's like, you know, the other guy won it, you know, the early rounds, but it was really close. But then you have a huge momentum swing in the, you know, in the 5th. It's like, I think that's why Ian Garry's stock went up. But like, Ian Garry out-grappled Shavkhat in a bunch of sequences. Like, he is very good. Now, he needs to work on his rear naked choke. As a matter of fact, I'm so glad that I said that because I did not want to forget to say this. Okay, so I looked everywhere for this clip, okay? But I am telling you, absolutely 100%, I saw this with my own eyes, and I took a mental note of it because I remembered the technique. Okay, so when Ian Garry fought MVP, and he almost choked him, but MVP kept fighting against the hands, after the fight, I saw Gilbert Burns, obviously you guys know, elite world champion jiu-jitsu. He was talking to Ian Garry backstage, and he showed him. He was like, hey, what you need to do is you need to gable grip, gable grip, I think it's, gable grip, and then tuck your elbow into the shoulder blade of your opponent. So you wrap here, and so if they keep peeling the hands off, you know, if you're doing it here, he's like, you gable grip, and then look, like, so, and then you tuck this into like the inside of their shoulder blade. That's how you hide it so they can't peel it off. And I was like, oh shit. And I remember that because I was like, oh man, I got to remember that technique, you know? And last night, Ian Garry ends up in that same situation, potentially going to rear naked choke Shavkhat, and he needed to do exactly that to finish it, and he like didn't do it. I'm like, I saw Gilbert Burns show you this. Now, obviously, it was like really quick, and it was after the fight, and Ian was probably all revved up because he just won. So it's not like, you know, I don't know. I just thought it very interesting to me that I saw someone give him the advice of how to solve that problem, and then he like didn't do it, you know? But anyway, neither here nor there. Yeah, I mean, again, if he gets that rear naked choke locked in, like he's got the body type to be super gangster with chokes like that. And man, if he locks that thing in, he is going to be dangerous, dude. That's 2 straight fights where he ends up on a dude's back fighting for the rear naked choke. And anybody who knows anything about like, you know, submission grappling knows that like the hardest part is getting to their back and being in position where you can have, you know, attempts like that to where you're choking. Like if you want to see someone that you can bet is going to be very dangerous to be choking people from the back. That's what you want to see. It's like Ian Garry, like getting all the way there. And then, you just need to make some adjustments to how you are gripping and finishing the submission. By the way, what just happened on my side was I was in the middle of that talk track and my entire house went black. And I was like, what on earth? And then it just turned everything back on. I don't know. I have no idea what just happened. I thought about leaving it in there, but actually here, I'll show you how you're, gripping and what the fuck just happened? Yeah, that's never happened before. I don't know that was really bizarre. Anyway, but I'm very bullish on Ian Garry, and I don't understand how people's interpretation of that fight was, oh, Shavkhat's not as good as we thought. You're like, dude, no, Ian is better than you thought. That's what that means. The guy is better than you thought he was. I don't understand why people are questioning this guy. It's exactly the same as Alex Pereira. It's like, because a person starts as an elite striker, they think that they can't become an elite grappler. And you're like, that logic makes no sense. They are world champion level athletes, okay? Like, so that if they can develop into a world-class striker, like, top of the heap, if they focus their energy on becoming that good at grappling, what on earth would make you think that they would not be able to develop those skills once they're in 4 years of training it every single day? Okay, like the brain that it takes to become that level of a striker is the same brain going into training submission grappling. And if they really want to become the best in the world, like these are people who have become the best in the world in something else. That's a good bet, man. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm very interested to see how Alex Pereira looks grappling once we see, because I have a feeling he's going to surprise people. I really do. And Ian Garry surprised everybody last night. Congratulations to him. Now, super quick, this is all I'm going to show you on this. So look at the date, December 7th, right? So this was Ian Garry's nutritionist and wife, Layla Machado, whatever, ex-husband, Richard Cullen's drama haunts the UFC 310 star again. So I'm like, all right, and I wanted to talk about Layla in this video because he came out to the song Layla. That's why I looked it up. And so I found this and I'm like, this is a headline. The drama haunts him again. It's from yesterday. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I wonder what happened. And so I looked through this article. You want to know what the drama is? It's the comment section from Ian Garry's family outing. So one of the most controversial things that turned fans against Garry and his wife was the rumor that she had her ex-husband, nutritionist Richard Cullen, living and traveling with them. First of all, like turned fans against Garry and his wife. Like that is such a weird way to put this. And it puts it in perspective, like how people actually interpret this stuff. They're like, that turned me against him. I hate him. You're all, wait, you hate him? Because I just want to be clear. I was just making fun of him. Like, I'm like teasing him, turned him against him. Like, why would you get mad about how any other person lives like that? You know what I mean? If they're not hurting kids, if it's just some weird shit like this, which I would never do personally, it's like, why are you that? There's no reason you should be like mad at him for that. You know what I mean? But anyway, so fans, of course, are unconcerned, take every opportunity to get to snipe at Garry for his decision. As one fan did in a subtle, whatever. Quote, nutritionist is one hell of a profession nowadays. Hey, where is his nutritionist? The MILF's ex-husband. Well, at least they're acknowledging she's a MILF, So literally, this entire story is the guy's like, oh yeah, people are teasing him on the internet about the Layla's nutritionist. And I was like, all right. But also, I will say this. This is a weird picture, man. I'm sorry. This is a weird picture. Hopefully I'm being clear. I support Ian Garry. I absolutely was rooting for him last night. And that's how I know if who I really like is, when they're fighting someone, who am I? I really wanted him to win last night. And I think Shavkhat's a badass. But with that as a prereq to what I'm going to say next, I don't mean anything negative by this, but this picture is fucking weird, dude. Okay? This is a weird picture. It's one thing for you and your wife to decide to hire her ex-husband for whatever reason, and that is going to keep your guys' family together. But let me tell you what would absolutely never happen. Actually, well, first of all, that would never happen. I would never do that. But in the event that I was going to do that, there would never, ever, ever be a situation where I am on one side and the nutritionist ex-husband is sitting between me and my wife. That would absolutely never happen. I'm talking never. This is a weird picture, man. You know, I support the guy. I'm rooting for him. But this is weird. And it's not like look at Ian Garry and look at the ex-husband. You know what I mean? It's like if people think there's like this massive gap in how they look or whatever, like this is a dude who's like, you know, looks kind of like Ian Garry, similar build to Ian Garry. Like you really think that the fact that he's banged his wife 10,000 times like never enters into their minds, like the nutritionist and Layla? Like, think about it, man. Think about the girls that are your previous sexual partners. It's not possible for you not to have that in the back of your mind anytime you're around them, dude. You know, it's not like even if you're a person who just slammed tons of girls, it's still not that big of a list. Even, you know what I mean? Unless you're some kind of twisted maniac. Like if it's like 50 girls, 60 girls, whatever it is. All right, well, so there's still only like 3 or 4 in your like social circle. And when you hang out with them, they are in a different category that is not up for discussion. That is just a fact. And, you know, you talk to them and you're just friends now or whatever, but you know, and they know, you know what I mean? They're thinking about it. You're thinking about it. And obviously some other girl who you never slept with, okay? The barrier to entry is enormous. You know, you're married, maybe they're married, whatever, you know, like there's a brick wall this thick to where you would actually ever hook up with that girl, you know? Well, certainly like if it's like your friend's wife, that's a never. And if you're married and you're a good dude, it's a never. But you understand what I'm saying? Like there's a brick wall to drill through for that to ever happen. Okay. A girl that you have had sex with previously, that wall is paper thin, dude, in the right situation. Okay. If it's paper thin, because like the biggest barrier to entry with any girl in most cases is like, is this guy safe? Like, is this guy going to hurt me? Can I trust this guy? Is he going to, you know, whatever? Like, is this a person that I can feel safe around? And they already know that they can be safe with you if you take it there. You know what I mean? And so it's like, you're going to leave that dynamic in your house with you and with this dude? I mean, no homo, but like this guy doesn't look like a dude that a girl might want to take a fucking ride on if she's in the right mood. That's just wild. And I know exactly how Ian sees this situation. He's looking at it from an immature and, well, he might say, actually, I'm much more mature. I'm keeping the house together, but I'm talking about purely the sexual dynamic, dude. Because Ian knows he could beat the living shit out of this guy. And Ian thinks that puts him in the pure dominance position to where he never has to worry about that guy with Leia. You're like, that's not how this works, dude. The girl decides who she wants to bang. Okay? The girl decides. Men are powerless against, you know, a certain level of advancement. Like, that's just what it is. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you're gone, you're in a fight with her, she's had some drinks, she's there with this dude. Like, you just think because you could beat him in a fight that's going to keep him off of her? You're out of your mind. Now, you can say, I trust my wife exclusively. You're like, okay, I trust my wife exclusively too. But guess what? She's not doing any fucking sleepovers with her ex-boyfriend without me there. You know what I mean? Or with me there, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I know I trust my wife too, but nonetheless, I'm not rolling that dice. Especially like when, you know, they get in a fight and she's like filming him for Instagram and shit. It's like, geez, man, I don't know. Hopefully nothing comes to fruition from that situation. But again, I am rooting for Ian Garry. I'm just talking shit because I have a YouTube channel and I like talking about relationships. All right, so let's move over to the portion of the video we're going to talk about Dana White's comments in the presser. So here's what I want to show you guys. So this guy's about to ask him a question about Anthony Smith, Clay Guida, and Chris Weidman. And his answer is what it is. And then I want you to watch the next like couple minutes of his presser because I know, like he basically says it, but he got pissed that this guy was trapping him into saying things he didn't want to say. It's like he said what he was thinking, and then you could tell afterwards he thought about it, and he's like, I did not I did not want to say that publicly. And then he just lashes out at all the other journalists who were asking him questions, like trying to trap him into saying things. So watch this. This is what he said first off, and then we'll talk about the comments themselves.
We had a couple losses for some veterans, Clay Guida, Chris Weidman, Anthony Smith. You've made it known that you thought Chris should have hung it up a couple fights ago. Anthony, couldn't really hold in the tears when he was walking out, and then Clay is, I think, 40-something. What do you do with those three?
They all retire tonight.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you won't offer them any more fights, or you'll just kind of...
They should all retire tonight.
And then what did you make of the Crone-Bryce Mitchell fight? Because in Crone's last fight, you were pretty critical of him. You said it was limited. Even Crone said it was the biggest mistake to kind of come in with one tool. Bryce knocked him cold with an elbow off the top. So just what did you make of Crone's performance and his future with the company?
So wait a minute. What's your question? So you're asking me, you're saying Crone looked really limited the last time he fought, and he looked limited tonight. What's your opinion on...
I didn't think he was limited tonight.
No? What did you think?
I thought he had a better game plan than the fight he had against Charles Jourdain.
How was Crone's game plan any different last night than it was in his last fight? He pulled guard every single time. He was purely trying to win with jiu-jitsu from the bottom. It was an identical game plan. Like that, this is silly.
Because Bryce Mitchell's just had the answers for it.
Okay. So you're like, what do you think about Weidman, this guy, and that guy tonight? I said they should retire. What do you think about Crone? Yeah. No, I don't like the way you're leading me down this road. I know what you're doing. You know the answer to the question, but you just want me to say it or something. You're saying Crone looked limited. What do you think? Do you have any other questions you want to ask me? Anything fucking positive, or you want me to shit on everybody on the card tonight?
I was going to ask.
See, like Dana, he got trapped into those comments, and then he's like double track thinking about it after he said it, and he's like, man, I should not have said that. I think my personal opinion is I think he was thinking about Anthony when he got mad. I think he was thinking specifically about Anthony because he said it. And I don't think, he's already said he thought Chris Weidman should hang it up. Clay Guida is, whatever, in terms of whether he fights or not. But Anthony, it's a different ball game, dude. It's a very different ball game. That Anthony is, very, very connected in the organization. He works for ESPN. Dana is very, very in tune with people's like emotions and stuff. That's why he's such a good negotiator, and he's really good at playing human chess, and that comes from understanding people. And obviously Anthony's my boy, and I understand him, relatively well also. And he was devastated last night, and not devastated in the way where you lose a fight, like devastated in the way where he just lost his best friend and his mentor. And this is coming on the heels of 2 years ago losing his mom out of nowhere. This is like he has had a run of challenges that are really, really hard to deal with. Like I remember, I actually know exactly what day it was because UFC 274 in Arizona, the one where Chandler kicked Tony Ferguson's chin off of his body. Anthony was supposed to come to an event with us, and he called at the last minute, and he couldn't go because his mom had just died that day. And I had brought him like this pair of Louis Vuitton sunglasses, and we ended up at the airport at the same time. And Gabrielle and I like ran to his gate, and then we gave them to like a flight attendant, and they were like, Anthony Smith? Is there an Anthony Smith? They didn't know who he was because we're like, find Anthony Smith, he's a UFC fighter, and hand him these. And they're like, Anthony Smith? And anyway, but that happened. So whenever that happened, then he fights against Ankalaev in a fight where he's basically in a title eliminator finally again, and he has a spiral fracture in his ankle, a devastating injury, and then like all the way leading up to this, and then he has his best friend die, and then he's in there, and he's like, he knows how old he is. He knows what the potential prospects for, even if he fights again, he knows, maybe 1, 2 more, whatever. And it is that place right there is, I I just don't think I could properly communicate what that feels like, you know? Now, have I gone through it personally? Yes, actually. That's why I empathize with it so much. Now, not as a professional fighter, but I went through it in that I had dedicated my entire life to a very specific project that I poured my life savings into and all of my energy, which, you know, through a sequence of events we don't need to get into, I ended up not, you know, losing, and like the industry I was in had gotten flatlined. And so I'm like, what do I do now? You know, I have a wife, I have 3 kids. What the fuck do I do? If I'm not this guy, you know, the CEO of this company, you know, moving, shaking, you know, like, you know, doing deals with professional athletes and all that. Now I'm nobody. Like, what? I didn't know. I had no idea how I was going to be able to make ends meet for the rest of my life. I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't go back to the corporate world. Now I was doing that for too long. I have no idea how I'm going to be able to support my family. I have no idea what my future even looks like. And it was there's not a way that I could properly communicate to people how depressed I was for that period of time, where it was just like, you know, like I just started like making moves, trying to like, you know, get something going. But yeah, man, in hindsight, if I would have just started posting every day on YouTube, this would have happened a lot faster. But it doesn't matter. At the time, I didn't know that. And but every single fighter is headed for that moment at some point. You know, I always use the same metaphor. It's a sword of Damocles hanging over their head that they all know about. And it's like, once you're actually there, it's like this thing that you've been terrified of your entire life. And I think it's actually harder for people who have gotten to the top of the mountain, you know, or at least like very close to the top of the mountain, you know, where almost champion, you know, almost there, where they rode the roller coaster for real, you know, because it's one thing, like if you're broke, right, but you've never had a lot of money, being broke always sucks, but it doesn't suck as bad as if you know what it's like to have money and status and all that, and then you now don't. And I'm not saying that like Anthony will be fine for money, obviously, but I just like, you know, with commentating and all that, but I just mean like, once you've had a thing for a long time, when you lose it, it's like, you know, like just a run-of-the-mill fighter who like almost made it to the UFC. They never tasted it. They were never on the top of the mountain, where it's a much steeper, you know, reality check. It's like going from that to that, you know, and it's just, I don't know. It's a devastating moment for people. And I think that Dana said what he was thinking, and as soon as the words came out of his mouth, I think he realized, he was like, I definitely did not mean to say that about Anthony, you know? So that's my theory on why he got so mad. But I mean, watch how mad he is.
My last one was going to be about Mavzar. What you thought of his performance in there?
About who?
Mavzar. He won against Aljamain. The fight.
Look great. Congrats to him.
Dana,
Yeah.
how did you score the Cyril Gane-Volkov fight?
I thought Volkov won the fight.
You know, look, I'm not going to try to shit on her particularly, but Adelaide Bird scored it for him, right? This is a name we've heard. But my point really is, these judges who have shown bad decisions time and time again, is there anything we can do with the commission to say, like, hey, can they be re-educated, if not moved?
So here's what happened after that fight. You heard the boos. I went over to Volkov. I apologized to him. I thought he won the fight. And then the head of the commission came over and said, listen, we feel like that second round was really close, and, you know, could have gone either way. And both guys got rocked. We thought that, you know, we thought that, what did they think? That I can't remember which one they thought had the worst of it in the second round, but, you know, they were making the argument on why the fight was judged the way it was.
Ludicrous.
I had a problem with the battle fight, too.
Do you agree with their argument when you heard
The battle fight's different. The battle fights, if you were watching the punch stats, which I was watching on ESPN on my TV, and I also had it on my phone so I could see the punch count, like the strike count. Battle had significantly more strikes than his opponent. So like, I mean, listen, the way I interpreted it was, I thought the other guy won, but it was like, when they announced it for battle, I was like, okay, I understand why, because of the strike count. You know what? We are in overtime. This video is already way too long, so I'm just going to say the following. PFL is going to fold. That is what it looks like unless they get a massive cash infusion. I have no idea why anybody would put money into a business that is not demonstrating any ability to draw numbers. I don't wish this on them at all. I think it's terrible for the sport. But that is what it looks like is going to happen, and these guys are all going to be homeless. And that's the other thing that Dana talked about was he said, I'll read his quote to you guys really quick because he said the following. He said, the last couple months, we've been talking a lot about PFL. They're canceling a lot of shows. I know that a lot of guys are supposed to fight. They are not fighting. You guys know what the fuck is going on. When you see that start to happen, you're running out of money. Things aren't looking good. You're going to have people that want to jump ship, right? So it's pretty straightforward. And, this is all I want to say about the Francis thing is if Dana is being pragmatic and it's not about personal vendettas, then they would re-sign Francis, because if you're going to set a precedent that if you leave UFC, you can't come back, the reason that you do that is to set it up where you discourage them from signing with other organizations. Well, guess what? If there's no other organizations, you don't need to do that. So let's all hold out hope that Francis Ngannou comes back to the UFC and we get to see him versus Aspinall. We get to see him versus John Jones. That would be amazing. Now, if you watch this far and you have not subscribed to my channel and you have not liked this video, I would appreciate it if you would do both of those things. It's very helpful to the channel. I love you guys. Bye-bye.